Hello everyone, my name is Jason and I am an ISFP. You are watching my ISFP journey. Thank you so much for watching. This video is the 10th video in my series on defining the core purpose of each of the 16 types. Now, when I say core purpose, in case you've missed any of the previous videos or all of the previous videos in the series, what I'm really talking about here is the core motivation. What really drives each of the 16 types to think the way they think or to do what they do, to be who they are. And I'm looking at this from a perspective of certain aspects of each of the personality types. And what I mean by that is this. As I've studied personality type, I've come across attempts by different people to group certain personality types together according to just individual aspects of their type. And so then once they've made those groupings, once they've lumped, let's say, 4 types together and said these 4 types are similar in this one way, they then sort of define that. They explain what they mean by that. And I've come across a few of these different attempts to group the types like that. And so what I'm doing in this series is I'm taking these groupings, the groupings and the definitions that then go with these groupings, and I'm overlaying them for each of the 16 types to ask this question. If we take these groupings and their related definitions and we put them together for each of the types, will we then be able to drill down on a more narrowed view of what each of the types is like? Or will we be able to get a better picture of sort of the heart and soul, the brain wiring, the core motivations of each of the 16 types? So in this video, we're going to look at the ESFP. So the ESFPs are grouped into various of these different definitions that I've come across. And so what I want to do is take a look at the definitions, the groupings that the ESFP falls into, put them together and see if we can come up with sort of a heart and soul aspect of what the ESFP is really all about. So one of the definitions that the EFP, or one of the groups that the ESFP falls into, is that of the EP. All right, now who are the EPs? Well, the EPs are those that are driven by, or another way of saying it would be that have as their primary core human need the need for variety, the need to experience things that are new and different, all right? The EPs do not want to fall into a stagnated life where they're just rehashing and reliving the same thing over and over and over, where they're just experiencing the same things over and over. The EPs need to branch out. The EPs need to explore. The EPs need to bring in new. Now, what new they need to bring in depends on the specific EP type, so we'll get into that with the ESFP. But what you must understand about the EPs is that one of the worst things that can happen to an EP is a stagnated life. EPs must spend their energy bringing in the new. So with the ESFP, one of the other categories that they fall into is that of the SF. Now, SFs are those, according to one definition, SFs, all 4 SF types, are those who value things in the physical world. Now, we contrast that, let's say, with an NF. An NF values things in the abstract world. So an NF is going to spend a significant amount of their time valuing ideas. And so an ENFP, if you watch my ENFP video, needs to fulfill that need for variety, they need to gather in new ideas because they value ideas, they value concepts. But with the ESFP, it's a little different. What they are valuing is more grounded or more tangible. It really comes down to those things that exist within the tangible, manipulatable, touchable, physical world. Those things that can be seen, those things that can be tasted or heard or experienced in a sensory way. So the ESFP, valuing things in the physical world and needing variety, is going to be seeking that variety, or seeking to meet that need, to fulfill that desire for variety, by gathering in the variety of the things that they can value in the physical world. So, what kind of things might an ESFP value in the physical world? Well, any SFs valuing physical things could value tangible items like buying a new car or getting a new computer or some sort of, moving to a new place, whatever. But it could also be new experiences. So it might be that they seek to meet that need for variety through bungee jumping or skydiving or going skiing or just going on a vacation or driving to a place they've never been before, going and seeing a waterfall that they've never seen before, or a river, or anything that you can imagine doing, experiencing, or even purchasing, let's say, in the physical world. That would then give them an experience or a physical, tangible item that is new to them. These things, SFs value in general these things in the physical world. And the ESFP needs the variety of the physical to really fulfill that human need for not becoming stagnant and not living sort of a boring, dull existence. And please hear me. I'm not trying to say that those who like to sort of fall into a routine and stay there are boring or dull, or that their life is insignificant or invaluable or anything like that. I don't mean any of those things. All I mean to say is that for the ESFP, there is a strong need for the constant gathering in of the new. And because they are SFs and value things in the physical world, the new that they're wanting to gather is the new physical experience or thing, going to the new place, purchasing the new item, a meeting, perhaps just meeting new people. People are physical, okay? This is flesh and blood here. So whatever it is that can be tangibly, physically experienced with the senses, the ESFP is going to want to gather in as much of that as possible. I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, I went out to eat. My wife and I went out to eat, and we took our ESFP daughter. And she was looking at the menu, and she decided to order a meal that included French fries. It was a restaurant we'd never been before. And she said, I want to try this restaurant's French fries. And she went on a little speech, if you will, about French fries and how French fries are so different from different places. And then she said this, she said, I would like to travel all over the world and try all of the different types of French fries that are made at different types of restaurants. That's a very ESFP thought process, is I want to gather in new what? New physical, in this case, French fries. These are physical. You touch them, you can see how they look. She even talked a little bit about the differences in the way different French fries look. And she didn't mention how they feel different, but they do feel different, and they certainly taste different. She talked a lot about that. So the ESFP is a gatherer, a needer of variety, someone who must have new and different, and that new and different must come in the physical world. But these are not the only two groupings that the ESFP falls into, because the ESFP also falls into the SP grouping. And by one definition, SPs are known as artisans. And I like to think of it less as the concept of artisans, but more as the concept of producers, or those who manifest something into the physical world, creators, if you will. Now, I really have been thinking about this for quite a while as it pertains to the ESFP. ESFPs certainly can be artists who paint pictures, or who make music, or who create movies. They could be engineers who design bridges, or they could be construction workers who build bridges or build buildings. ESFPs certainly have all of the necessary tools to be great creators of physical things. But it's interesting to me as I look at both ESFPs in my life, or just famous ESFPs even, as I look at ESFPs across the spectrum, I notice a pattern, or maybe something just a little bit different that would fulfill this definition of being a creator. And that is this. I think what ESFPs are best at creating, and again, please hear me, if you're an ESFP, you are perfectly capable of creating whatever it is you set your mind to. But what I think ESFPs are really particularly well suited for creating is experience. ESFPs create fantastic experiences, not only for themselves, but for those in their lives. ESFPs are looking out into the physical world and seeing the value of going to this place, eating this food, wearing these clothes, spending time with these people, investing, by the way, they invest their time and invest their emotional energy into the people in their lives. ESFPs are seeing this wonderful spectrum of amazing things in the physical world that can be touched and tasted and smelled. They're connoisseurs, if you will, of the real, and they see the value in it. And they have this core human need to experience it and to have the variety that comes with trying on all of these different things that exist in the physical, tangible world. But they don't just stop there. They create an experience out of it for you, for me. If you spend time with an ESFP, that ESFP is going to sculpt an experience in the physical world that will provide you with variety, that will provide you with things you've never tried before, things maybe you never thought to try before, and they'll drag you along into these things. Sometimes you may be hesitant, especially if you're like a diehard introvert, but if you'll just allow them to take your hand and pull you into it, they will create for you an experience. They'll create memories for you. Memories in one sense are abstract, but in another sense they're quite physical. Because though the memory itself cannot be seen or touched by anyone else, and in a sense it can't even be touched by you, but it can be seen in your mind. It can be replayed and experienced. It can be re-enjoyed. It can bring up the feelings and the emotions that existed at that time. And the ESFP is going to create that for you if you'll allow them to. ESFPs are masters, I think, at sculpting experiences, both for themselves and for those with whom they spend time. And I think that makes them extremely well suited, not only to be amazing friends or spouses, partners, whatever, but I think that probably lines them up extremely well for any kind of employment or application in life where their primary role is to sculpt an experience. You know, I can imagine ESFPs being amazing event planners, or being those whose responsibility it is to make sure that the environment within a situation is excellent. Like maybe a hotel manager or something like that, where they're going to be able to tell, okay, when our customers walk in the front door, are they going to be walking in to an amazing new experience that if they didn't care so much, if the manager didn't care so much about creating it and sculpting it, the customer might just come in, leave, and when anyone asks them, hey, what was it like when you went to that theme park, or what was it like when you stayed at that hotel, or whatever, the person may be like, yeah, it was fine. I didn't really notice anything. I think an ESFP created environment is going to be noticeable. It's going to be one that leaves people walking away saying, I remember that. I had an experience, and it was one to remember, and I want to share it with those that I know. It will create memories. ESFPs are artisans. They are creators, but they are creators. And again, they can create anything, right? They can build buildings. They can draw pictures. They can do anything. Anybody can do anything. But they are naturally creators of amazing experiences in the physical world because they're able to see the value. You know, I think to some people, you know, we hear sensors being, and by the way, I've got a whole rant on calling people sensors or intuitives. We're all sensors and we're all intuitives. But people who are intuitive dominant sometimes will hate on sensors, so to speak, because they see what they do as being maybe shallow, or they don't see, you don't think those deep thoughts. First of all, sensors can think very deep thoughts. It's just not always where we spend the majority of our time. It's not always our primary value place. So they might look at someone like an ESFP and say, or hear what I'm saying about valuing things in the physical world and say, well, that seems insignificant, or that seems shallow, or whatever. It isn't. It isn't even remotely insignificant or shallow. It's amazing. Every time you've had a good experience, there's a good chance that there was a sensor involved, because a person, and again, I don't like those terms, sensors and intuitives, but a person who was focused very, very heavily on the sensory side of things was very likely involved, because those people are able to see the value, and there is great value. They're able to see the value in providing that sensory experience that will overwhelm you. It touches your emotions. It will hit a person in a place that they didn't even realize they needed to be hit. When an ESFP creates an experience for you, you will receive something that you probably didn't even know you needed. And yet when you walk away from the experience that they created in the physical world, because they knew what to value, they knew in the physical world what was necessary to move you. When they did that, you were moved. And you didn't even know you needed to be moved sometimes, but you were, and you'll never forget it. It's amazing what the ESFPs, I believe, are capable of, and why. All because they themselves have this deep-seated need for the variety that comes through experiencing different things within the physical world, and then they want to take that and they want to give it to everyone else. They don't just hoard it up for themselves. That's one of the amazing things about ESFPs, right? I think, like, as an ISFP, sometimes I want to do that too. I want to go around experiencing the things that the physical world has to offer, but a lot of times I do it in a rather selfish way. Like, I don't really care if I bring anyone along with me for the ride. I just want to go do it myself, and if anybody's there, great, and if they're not, that's fine too. But the ESFP is not going to be content with that. The ESFP, in their need for variety, is going to need the variety of human experiences as well. They're going to bring you along for the ride. Anyway, I hope you found this very useful. I hope entertaining. I hope it provided a lovely experience for you in your sensory world. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you did find this useful or entertaining in any way, please do give it a like. And if you have not subscribed already, please subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching, and have an awesome day. Bye now.